Hey good people, Neo here, and of course I'm here to talk to you about Corsair's recently released 3200D series, and specifically today the 3200D RS ARGB. This is an entry-level chassis from Corsair at an MSRP of $79 or $1,600 from Woodware. Actually, you can pretty much pick up all the gear used in this video at Woodware. Now, $80 or $1,600 is a reasonable amount of money for any other brand, but not so much in Corsair speak. See, I used to say that Corsair was and remains incredible at mid-range to ultra-high-end gear, but that didn't necessarily hold true for entry-level or budget products. But that was many years ago, so let's see if any of that has changed in the time since with the 3200D RS ARGB. The 3200D is a standard ATX chassis that comes by default equipped with Corsair's RS120 ARGB fans, 3 of them to be exact. There is no IQ version of this case for obvious reasons, but your motherboard software can more than handle all of this. Despite its size, the 3200D supposedly houses GPUs of up to 370mm in length and can take up to 920mm fans. Well, since I'm not one for pure case reviews, and in order to actually verify these claims, let me actually build a high-end gaming PC around this chassis to see how it holds up. To that end, I built the gaming PC around the Intel platform using the ASUS TUF Gaming Z890 Plus Wi-Fi, Intel Core Ultra 250K Plus, the Corsair Vengeance RGB memory, the MP600 Core NVMe, Corsair's RS120R reverse fans, the RM1000E ATX 3.1 PSU, the Corsair Nautilus 360 RS LCD, and of course the ASUS TUF Gaming GeForce RTX 5070 Ti. Naturally, I started by prepping the case, removing the glass side panel and laying it on its side. Corsair put all the screws and the bits in a box and tied it to the inside of the motherboard tray. Easy to remove, and at face value this seems to be a straightforward build I could get done within the hour. As usual, however, once the case is prepped, I moved on to the motherboard, installing the CPU and of course the SSD. Now, because the MP600 core has its own heatsink and housing, I could either use it as is, which I'd rather not, or I could remove it via these 4 clips and instead rely on the M.2 cooler on the ASUS TUF Gaming board, which is beefier and I would imagine even more capable than what ships with the driver standard. Actually, do yourself a favor and just buy the model without the heatsink, save yourself time and a couple of bucks. I put that aside and moved on to the Corsair Nautilus RS LCD. I had previously assembled this cooler as I was using it on a test bed for the Core Ultra 250K Plus prior to assembling this PC. So putting the fans on the radiator was already done. In hindsight though, I shouldn't have, but you'll come to see why or understand that later on. Next, I wanted to prep the PSU. The RM1000E is actually a small PSU, testament to just how far PSU technology has come. I really do find the color scheme along with the white cables and the gray heads appealing. For all the white builds, it works, avoiding the black connectors on other PSUs, which can break the color scheme sometimes. Since I had prepped all the components, it was time to build into the chassis. I removed the patterned side panel via 2 polished silver screws, which conveniently stay on the panel so they can't be lost. Then laying the case flat, I started with the RM1000E, which slots easily into the PSU cage. Once again, the 3200D has 2 screws for the PSU already attached, meaning that the ones provided with the PSU, only 2 of them are necessary. Appreciated as well, as I had stated before, is that they are metallic or silver screws which blend perfectly into white builds more so than black ones. Speaking of the RM1000E, I really do admire the individual sleeving of the cables as well. Like the previous PSU I had just looked at, this can lead to a cable mess of sorts, but for some reason this wasn't the case here. Perhaps thanks to the plastic guides on the cables as well. Plugging the cables into the PSU wasn't too difficult, but I must admit, at such times one appreciates where the connection points are located on the Corsair Shift series of PSUs. I then went back to the motherboard, prepping it for the Nautilus cooler, installing the LGA backplate and the standoffs for the cooling block. My thermal paste of choice for close to a decade now, of course, is the Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut. The Nautilus had its own thermal paste pre-applied, but I'd already used it, of course, and this would be better in terms of performance, at least for now. Despite being a budget-conscious cooler, the Nautilus block mounting mechanism is just so simple, if not simpler than the one used on the more premium Titan series of AIOs. The board was finally ready for mounting inside the 3200D, which should have meant what remained was going to be relatively quick. Just wire everything up, mount the AIO, insert the DRAM and VGA, and we are good to go. As usual, I was going to start with the dual EPS connectors on the TUF Gaming Z890 Plus Wi-Fi. Always easier to do this without the AIO installed. With that done, I was ready to install the CORSAIR Nautilus 360, and best of all, I'd already mounted the fans as you'd seen before. Well, so much for that prep. What followed was easily the part which took longer than everything else combined twice over. On the 3200D RS ARGB, the factory-mounted fans draw air in, so naturally I wanted it to flow out the rear using the CORSAIR RS 120R ARGB fan I'd be mounting here. But the thing is, the tubing would make it impossible to mount a fan in this location. And the other way around wouldn't work either because the pre-installed fans, at least the top one, would interfere with the tubing. Meaning, while on paper you can fit a 360mm AIO at the top of the 3200D RS, in practice, or at least if you want to use an exhaust fan, this location isn't usable for a 360mm AIO. What this all meant is that the Nautilus would have to be mounted at the front of the 3200D, and those pre-installed fans would then move to the top of the chassis. Had I known this was realistically the place for me to install the AIO, I would have saved hours in assembly time. So be aware and be advised, your AIO goes in the front if you want to use a rear exhaust fan. With that done, it was time to put back the front panel mesh filter and the panel itself and mount the Nautilus block. Next was installing the GPU. While the 3200D RS had a GPU support pin, I could not install the GPU with it in place, so I had it removed, which was thankfully very simple. Now, installing the TUF Gaming GeForce RTX 5070 Ti was supposed to be simple, given that the chassis supports GPUs of up to 370mm. But remember that we had to mount the Nautilus at the front, meaning we have significantly less clearance than the case spec would suggest. The card still fits, but you're going to have to use some creative angle for installation. Realistically, your limit is GPUs of around 329mm or smaller if you are mounting a 360mm AIO at the front. Once the GPU was installed, what remained, component-wise at least, was just installing the Vengeance RGB DRAM. So, remember the factory-installed CORSAIR RS 120R ARGB fans? Well, it was time for them to occupy the space I had initially thought would house the Nautilus. Overall, and despite the time wasted on the other location, I actually prefer this fan layout. With that done, I wired up the rest of the PC to the motherboard and we were about done with this build. Cable management can wait. This case, like many others from CORSAIR, allow you to hide the cable clutter easily behind the board, so you get a relatively clean front or exposed side of the PC. Overall, I'm happy with how this 3200D RS ARGB build turned out. The keen-eyed among you will notice that in the finished shots, I have two more fans than what you saw in the build process. Those are the CORSAIR RS 120R ARGB fans, one beneath and angled towards the GPU, serving as an intake fan, and of course another identical fan at the rear, the one that started this entire AIO placement adventure. Either way, I was finally done and ready to power on this bad boy. RGB lighting as usual is via the ASUS Aura Sync suite, but you still need IQ though for the LCD display. If you use the LCD in hardware mode, for instance, then obviously you'll not need IQ after defining what the hardware mode is for yourself, be it a video, an image, CPU temp, coolant temp, or what have you. So, after all that, what I can say about the 3200D is that it's a commendable offering by CORSAIR at an entry-level chassis that can accommodate rather powerful hardware within. That being said, if there's any improvement to be made, it's in the sizing or recommendation about where to install what. The 3200D at a few centimeters longer would be perfect, but if that's not possible for whatever reason, then a top-mounted 360mm AIO should probably not be listed as possible because in reality, in this location, it has compromises. In fact, CORSAIR's own showcase builds have a 240mm AIO mounted at the top, despite the manual stating larger AIO support. Outside of that, this was fun, and as I said, this turned out well, and in some aspects better than I had hoped. With some cable ties and the like, it'll look even better than it does right here. Either way, that's it from me and the CORSAIR 3200D RS ARGB and ASUS TUF Gaming build. Until the next time, take great care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the flip side, and peace!